time when I said that it's my first time ever meeting a real raw vegan person. So it is
Yes.
quite an event for me.
Oh,
I'm very happy
wow.
that you were able to, yeah, accommodate a conversation with me. It's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I checked you out. I'm subscribed to your YouTube. It's awesome. And thanks for having me. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I'm all subscribed to you, and so we'll keep cross-pollinating, I guess. So, um, I will introduce you to my audience. So I'm really delighted to introduce Janet D'Onofrio, also known as Ms.FitVegan, which I find a really amazing name because it's really a misfit in a way. It's not just choice of lifestyle. So Janet has been raw vegan for 12 years, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes,
at this point. Do you
12.
even count?
Yes, I went raw in February of 2011. So a little over 12 years.
Nice, yeah. So, and as far as I can tell, you actually managed to gradually like, turn your lifestyle into a whole like diverse career. I know that
Yes.
several projects that are like this like career choice is so fascinating to me because it's literally a community service. It is such an honorable activity to help people become healthier because I personally believe that health is a foundation for unlocking human potential. If you want anything, any breakthrough in life, health is a prerequisite. So it's really cool. So I know that you're running a Woodstock Fruit Festival.
Yes.
Is it going to happen in 2023?
No, it's not going to happen in 2023, but I will announce within the next week when and where the next festival will be. So follow the Woodstock Fruit Festival page, and I will go live next week to announce it. So stay tuned for that. Yes.
Nice. The website actually is very beautiful. It's such a
Yes.
cool place, very unusual to like
Yes.
to see that culture of existing. Then you're also an author of a book which is called Raw Vegan Beauty, and I need to
Yes.
check it out. So I think it can be found on your website, right?
Yeah, you can. So the link in my bio here on Instagram, or if you're watching on YouTube, I'll leave the link below. And I'll send you a copy. Anastasia? Anastasia?
Anastasia, yeah.
Okay.
Or it can be Nastya. Nastya is short.
Okay.
Like
Yeah, I'll send you a
Nasty.
copy.
Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully maybe you'll like it. And yeah, it's all about natural beauty, which is very important because the things that we're doing as women to our bodies and our skin and our hair, it's very, very toxic, and it causes issues that, we go to the doctors and the doctors don't know what's wrong because they don't study the chemicals in makeup. They don't study the chemicals in the food, the hair products, the body lotions, all these things add up. So it's very important to be careful what you put on your skin. You are eating it. So be careful.
Yeah, it's like a lot of endocrine disruptors, and then most common concerns that women face usually is somehow in some ways related to their hormonal system. And no, not many people think that what happens to your like ovaries is related to what happens to your thyroid or pituitary gland. So it all goes a long way. So yeah,
Absolutely.
it's really crazy. I understand that. Yeah, raw food would definitely change my approaches with cosmetics and self-care. And also, I know that you have a community that's called Misfit Mondays. It happens weekly, I'm assuming.
Yes, every single Monday. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Every single Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Zoom, we meet, and it's a place where you can come to not only ask your questions, because, when I first went raw, I had so many questions. I didn't know anything. I didn't know how much to eat or when to eat or what to eat, or if it was too much fruit or too much fat, or, how many bananas was okay, like exactly like how do I make these salad dressings? How do I know if I'm eating enough or if I'm eating too much? Like, there's just so many questions, deficient, am I going to be deficient in something? So this is a great place to ask. Hundreds of people join the call every week, and you can ask me, and then I open the floor. So there's people that know so much more than me that are on the call. So honestly, it's an amazing place. And I love it because I learn, because I don't know everything. And there's people that are on the call that have been doing it longer than me. So Ann Osborne was on the call last Monday, and she has been fruitarian, raw vegan for 33 years. So I loved asking her questions because I've only been doing it for 12 years. So yeah, great place. And if you want to check that out, it's MsFitMondays.com, but you can also just go to the link in my bio, MsFitMondays.com. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. Thank you. So, you said it happened like in 2011. I'm assuming it was before the YouTube, before this information was widely spread. Like, and it's not an obvious choice to become a raw foodist by like any means. So how did that thing happen into your life? Because I understand vegan, right? We feel compassion to animals. We don't want to harm nature. We don't want to cause suffering. We go vegan, but raw veganism is a totally separate school of thought. Like, what happened that you considered that and pursued it?
Yeah, great question. I was at a rock bottom in my life. I was overweight. I had severe cystic acne. I was always sick, and I had bronchitis constantly as a kid, always going to the emergency room, taking lots of antibiotics and Z-Paks every single year. I had digestive issues, very bad, lots of pain and suffering and depression and chronic fatigue, and I was at a severe rock bottom. I tried every other diet. I tried eating gluten-free. That helped a little bit, but I tried the Atkins diet, which I guess is now rebranded as keto. I tried the Zone diet. I tried eating, you know, just like smaller meals. I tried eating one meal a day. Well, that doesn't really work. You know, I was starving. I tried everything. I tried and it didn't work. So I tried the raw food diet and it worked. And I'm never looking back because, I mean, if I go back to the way I was eating, then I'll just suffer the symptoms that I was dealing with. So I'm never going to go back. So a lot of people ask me, you know, do I think it's realistic to be raw forever? Or like, you know, am I always going to be raw? Yeah, because I know what's going to happen if I eat processed foods. You know, I'm going to feel sick. I'm going to start getting acne. I'm going to gain weight. I'm going to start having digestive issues and headaches and migraines. I'm going to have all psoriasis all over my body, just like I used to have. So yeah, I hit a rock bottom and I tried the craziest thing I could find, which was the raw food diet. You know, it's very, very strange. Everybody's eating cooked food. What's wrong with cooked food? You know, we evolved because of cooked food, but I think we devolved, honestly, because of it. I really do. Right? Because it doesn't make sense that like we're the only species that suffers from preventable diseases. And we are also the only species that cooks our food. And the pets that we have, the dogs and cats that we give cooked food to, they also suffer from the diseases that we suffer from, obesity and cancer and all types of issues. My dog died of cancer. I didn't know that I wasn't feeding her species specific food. So anyway, our species specific food is clearly food that we can eat raw. And there's nothing against rice. I have nothing against quinoa. You can be very healthy eating those things. But personally, I feel the best eating fresh food that I don't have to cook, you know, fruit and vegetables, nuts and seeds. So that's what I'm doing. And that's why rock bottom. That's why.
Yeah, you keep saying like, I was like, I know, because I was in a very similar boat, and I was going through a very stressful period of time for several years, and my symptoms of like migraine were worse. I started actually losing weight because I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep because of panic attacks. So my diet was espresso and a cookie at some point because I just couldn't fit anything in myself, because of just all this stress, and I was scared because of my migraines that I've suffered from, like, since child. I have a tape my parents showed me. I was playing and I was 2.5 years old, and I stopped and I start crying, like, and my mom's like, what happened? And I'm like, my head. So that was since childhood, and I always was on those injections. Twice a year I would get administered injections for 2 weeks that would stop my migraines. Then they would put me on pills for a couple of months. While I was on injection and pills, nothing. But then as soon, like the day I stopped doing those drugs, migraines resumed.
Wow.
It was torture. And of course, as suffered with acne, from like menstrual pains and PMS and stuff like that. And then I tried everything as well. I went into this Mediterranean organic whole food diet. All doctors were literally doing checkups. They would applaud to me. They're like, such a good job, such a good job. And I was like, then I went to a neurologist. I did MRI. It's like, migraine. I can offer you Botox. And so I was like, is there anything else we can do? He's like, no. So medicine literally, Western medicine literally told me that there's nothing we can offer besides symptomatic treatment. So go entertain yourself. Do whatever you wish. And so I tried raw diet. Somehow it happened. And I didn't expect it to cure migraine. In 1 month, I cured them. There was no migraine. And I've been living for 2.5 years now without them. It's a miracle.
Yeah,
so
it's a very scary society when the experts don't know how to help us. Like we go to, I'm drinking water. Somebody wants to know what I'm drinking. Somebody's water. But the thing is that we go to the doctors and they don't know what is wrong with us and they don't know how to cure us. So they give us something to stop the symptoms. And unfortunately, that is exactly what you want to do if you want to have disease later. Stop the symptoms, okay? Stop the pain. So like when they're giving you Botox, it's just you're cutting off the nerves that are telling your brain that your head hurts. And it's like, do you even know? And that's an expert doing that, you know? So it is, I understand people are confused and it's scary. And now there is in the paper all over the world about the young lady, the beautiful young lady that passed away, and everyone is getting very, very scared to eat fruit and vegetables, nuts and seeds. And so, you know, I just want to say if we cannot rely on the experts because they are not studying, unfortunately, anything that can really, really help us. They're studying things to prescribe to us to make money, and that's it. You know, no expert can help me. I had to help myself. So Sherry said, can you both discuss how the raw food diet helped with panic attacks? If you're willing to share, it will inspire so many. Yeah. Do you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, it just disappeared. I just felt so calm all of a sudden because I was depressed. Because I felt helpless at some point. I lost like sense of life. I was suffering with migraines. I felt helpless. Doctors felt helpless about me. And again, hard period in life, like months of prolonged stress. And I mean, I go to raw diet in a month, no panic attacks as well, because I felt, first of all, that I just felt better. And when you start feeling better, you feel some evolution, some progression, some positive progression in your life. You suddenly feel like you are in control. And when you are in control, when you found something that you can so firmly rely on, beside, like outside of any life circumstances, it suddenly gives you very deep peace. Because another thing, like with all the stressful events of 2020 and later, I learned that literally there is medicine and food around us, so you will never starve. Nature always gets you covered, and this is the deep knowledge that I understood through raw diet. Because if as long as nature exists, I'm good, and this gave me such a peace. And plus, also, of course, normal microbiome produces hormones, that endorphins that keep you in the overall like baseline good mood. So there are two components to that: mental and physical, of course.
And when we are, being created in our mom's belly, I believe it's our gut and our brain that are growing at the same time first. And so they are connected. Our brain and our body are connected. And so whatever you are eating is going to highly, highly affect you. Yes, food can cause anxiety to be even more prominent. Okay. But I think, you know, a lot of things happened when I went raw. I started to like really care about myself more. I started to take better care of myself because one habit affects the rest. So I'm not saying a raw food diet cured my anxiety, because it didn't. What happened was it just like, it made me do things that were really healthy for myself, like start exercising, like start breathing, you know, start meditating, and start just treating myself with love and priority. And that helps a lot with the anxiety. I also started doing tapping for anxiety. That really helped me out a lot. But everyone has anxiety. but it's important to what's going on in your mind. There's a lot of very, very unhealthy raw vegans. So like, I don't want to say the raw food diet is going to cure everything, because it definitely doesn't. You have to change the way you're speaking to yourself. If you're like living in the future and so terrified because, you're thinking about all the things that are going to go wrong, that is really going to affect your anxiety. And so you've got to train your brain to work for you. And you got to say to it, no, we're not doing that anymore. We're changing this thought. We're changing this thought to, I love myself. I am safe. Everything is okay. I'm going to be okay. And, you have to change the thoughts, because the thoughts are what's causing your anxiety, So, yeah, good question, Sherry. My palms didn't go away, but they're definitely less prominent with the raw food diet. Yeah, because you got to work on yourself. You got to do the tapping. You got to do the affirmations. You got to change the recording that's going on in your head. We have 80,000 thoughts a day, I mean, how many of those are negative and fear-based? You got to change it. It's on you, and there's nobody else that can do it.
Yeah, and plus also we went very deep, and I'm really happy that you touched up on this subject, because like from the point of it goes like intertwined, right? So the choices that we're able to make in certain state of mind, they also, like for example, the person in misery can give up and realize that, not give up, but get desperate and go do some radical move to get them out of that situation. As soon as they get out of the situation by that radical action, like for example, changing the diet, or some people will be starting to exercise. From that place, their minds start functioning in a different way. So it creates this chain of events of mind looking for another opportunity. Then they jump on this opportunity, it alters their mind, and it goes in this sequence of events. So yeah, it's really, really important to always keep track of both mind and physical. And again, with knowing that brain with the body works in a feedback loop, it's not like one-way road. Definitely having physical help to the brain is really essential as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So Adam Rem says they can't hear anything. It's definitely you, Boo, because everyone else can hear. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on there, but everyone else can hear us, I think.
Good. I'm not going to so. So I wanted to ask you, like, okay, 12 years in, you know a lot of things. I was actually really charmed by you saying that you still don't know everything. It's so pleasant for me to hear as for a scientist, because I prefer to be my biggest skeptic. And I always respect it when people are always on doing research, are always bettering, are always excelling in their knowledge, as experts as well, because you're an expert. So 12 years, but when you were only starting, do you remember the challenges? Do you remember the timeline? Like, how was it happening? Like, when did you start overcoming the addictions? When were you starting to get addicted to raw food? Then when healing started, do you remember all those events?
Yeah, so I was really, really miserable eating processed foods and McDonald's and just anything. Like having anything available for me to eat, I could not control myself, so whatever was in the house after I came home from work, I would start eating, and I couldn't stop. You know, I had a food addiction for sure, like many, many, many people do. And it wasn't my fault, and it's not their fault, because the food is designed for that.
Mm-hmm.
The food is designed to be addicting. And so that was my experience on earth. And then after, being 26 years old, doing it for so long, from the age of 13. So for 13 years, struggling with eating so much and getting so sick and hating myself and feeling so guilty and being overweight and feeling disgusted and disgusting, and suffering mentally, really, really suffering with depression, and just feeling so out of control. Well, when I tried, like I said, I tried Atkins. It didn't work. I binged. I was starving. I tried the zone diet, because I know, like, a lot of celebrities, they lost a lot of weight on the zone diet, and I was like, okay, maybe this is it. Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, all these things. And I tried them all, and they all led to me binging. I tried starving myself. I, I couldn't do it. You know, I could not do it. I tried the fasting. I can't do it. So when I went to the raw food diet, I tried it and I was like, oh, wow, I'm not hungry because if I'm hungry, I can eat. You know, with every other diet that I tried to break my food addiction, because, you know, if you have a food addiction, you can't just say, okay, I'm going to eat normally now. You know, it doesn't work like that. Like, you know, you have to go through the process of learning like what you can and what you cannot eat. You know, I cannot eat, um, you know, and like a McDonald's. I will want more and more and more and more. You know, I can't have one bite of like a cupcake and then be like, oh, okay, I'm fine. You know, I love to eat, and I
Mhm.
wanted to eat everything to numb my pain and emotions. You know, I didn't want to deal with that. So long story short is that I tried the raw food diet and I felt for the first time in my life that I could be satiated, that I could actually, you know, eat this way because when you're hungry, you get to eat.
Mhm.
And it was hard for me to know when I was full. So I was definitely eating a lot more than I needed on the raw food diet when I first started, because I didn't know when I was full. And I was eating lots of, you know, gourmet stuff, lots of raw food like Oreos and Snicker bars, raw vegan cakes and cookies and lasagna and all that stuff. And it was so good, and the trail mix and the chocolate. So I ate a lot, but like I started losing weight and I started seeing like my skin started getting better and I started being able to go to the bathroom and I started to feel better mentally and physically. I didn't have any more stomach pain. So I was like, wow, this is a miracle. I'm just going to stick to this for, you know, 30 days. And it's been 12 years because I mean, honestly, it is the only way that makes sense to eat if you want to be healthy and happy and you want to stop the binging and the cycling of dieting. And, you know, I do want to add real quick, even though on Monday, I'm going to be doing a entire show with Jillian Berry and Shane Sterling on Zana and, you know, what happened with her and my thoughts on that and our thoughts on that. But I just wanted to say real quick about the, the raw foodist that passed away. You know, I cannot relate to her, unfortunately, because I didn't have an eating disorder. Okay, yes, I had disordered eating. You know, a food addiction is disordered eating, but I never had what she had, so I can't relate to her. You know, I never had anorexia. Okay, I had binge eating disorder, but I was never that able to. I was somebody who like I wasn't able to stop eating. You know, and so this is why the raw food diet works great for me. Okay, for me, I'm you know any diet on earth is not going to work good for somebody who has an eating disorder if they don't deal with their eating disorder.
Yeah, yeah,
So if somebody
yeah.
has anorexia or bulimia and they come to the zone diet or the Atkins or paleo or the keto diet, they're going to have anorexia on that diet. So it's very important to understand that. You know, the eating disorder has to be dealt with, therapy and treatment, and you know, and changing our beliefs, changing our thoughts. We have to do that if we want to heal. The raw food diet is not going to
Love
heal.
yourself.
Right. Yeah, I don't mean to go on a tangent, sorry. But the raw food diet is not going to heal an eating disorder. It's going to be the same. Wherever you go, there you are. So me, I went raw and I was still binging for a really, really long time.
Too, actually.
Yeah, I was binging, but like it was okay because I was losing weight. I was getting healthier because I was binging on fruit and vegetables, nuts and seeds, right? So for
Another thing
many,
is that your body gets nurtured. You're like
yes,
when you eat some processed food, you get a calories, but you don't nourish your body. So
yes,
this on raw diet, you get more per calorie, so your body is happy with kind of less, and it just starts functioning properly. You cover deficits and just
yes.
stabilize you.
And so now the reason why I'm doing a food addiction freedom course is because after it took me literally, I'm not joking, it took me like over a decade to stop binging on raw foods because I never
Mhm.
wanted to deal with the emotional aspect of my disordered eating. I never wanted to deal with emotions, the trauma that I suffered, my sister's death, my mom's death, my grandma's death, my grandpa's death. I never wanted to deal with all these things that I didn't deal with, you know, anger, sadness, fear, regret, all these emotions that are so uncomfortable. I just want to numb them.
Mhm.
And since I don't do drugs and I've never drank in my life, I numbed my emotions with food. So now I do my course because I finally learned how to stop using food for anything besides fuel. I don't use food when I'm angry. I don't eat food when I'm sad anymore. I don't eat food when I'm, every once in a while, I will find myself like eating grapes and I'm bored. I'm not really hungry. That's the only thing. Now, I don't
I'm thirsty
binge.
too sometimes.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
come
thirsty
home
and I
from
leave.
yeah, I don't come home from a long stressful day and just start eating and eating and eating and eating because I don't want to, cry or deal with life or talk it out or feel. So I just want everyone to know that if you're in that boat where you're using food for anything besides fuel, I know what you're dealing with, and it is possible to heal from that, but it's not going to be easy. You're going to have to feel things, and that sucks. And it's worth it though. It's worth it to become free finally from the food addiction, which is, it's not easy, but it's possible. Anyway, that was really long.
Now,
Sorry.
now that you mentioned that food addiction can be not only from the chemistry infused foods that are coming from food industry, which actually it's such a ridiculous term, food industry, in a way, when you treat food as something that comes from nature. It's not only that, but it also can be even on raw diet.
Yes.
But yeah, regarding your course, I was actually curious because you work with people, you do consulting, and it's a lot of psychology, and you go into the most hardcore psychology with that. Because probably there is nothing harder for a person who lives in a pretty no, pretty comfortable consumer paradise like Western world is. There's nothing harder than changing some habit, changing their ways, approaches. So what do you like? How do you influence this change? Like, how do you empower people to step into the zone of the unknown? Because food is anchored, literally. It can be anchored to like my mom was feeding me when I was sad. I was visiting my grandma who passed away who was feeding me. So there's so many anchors in the most like warm and pleasureful memories, healing the emotions through that. And so it's really hard matter. Do you think that do like usually appeal to the scientific facts or do more like drive people into more metaphysical, emotional sphere? Like what is your approach in working with people like that? Because it's a hardcore psychology at this point.
Yes, great question. Okay, so now I know what it takes because I did heal myself and hundreds, maybe thousands of people now. And I know that the first step is awareness. Awareness is the first step in the healing process. If you are not aware of what you're doing and why you're doing it, then you can never change it. Okay, so that's number one, awareness. And then I try to keep it and make it as very, very simple as possible because like it took me so long. It took me 36 years to figure it out because I was always searching for the answers outside myself. I was always searching for like, well, okay, so I have these beliefs and like in order to change, I need to change my beliefs. But like, how do I change my beliefs about myself? That I can never eat normally, that I can never resist donuts, that I can never resist cookies and cakes and ice cream and everything. How do I change this belief? And then I realized through my research and the last 10 years, I realized that beliefs are simply just thoughts that we've had over and over and over again. We want to change our beliefs about ourselves, that we'll always be fat, that we'll always be struggling, that we always have to be on a diet, that we're always going to be dealing with health issues, that we're always going to be a food addict. If we want to change that, we've got to change the thoughts. How do you change your thoughts? You just practice. You just practice. And that's what I do with people for 6 weeks. I make it my personal mission to help people change their thoughts. If you refuse to change your thoughts, you can't change your life. You can't change your body. Deepak Chopra has a great saying. He says, if you want to know what your mind looked like in the past, look at your body today. And if you want to know what your body's going to look like in the future, look at your mind today. Your mind is controlling how your body feels and looks. If you're saying, I love to be healthy, I love to move my body, I love to make smoothies, I love to eat fruit and make beautiful big salads, I love being healthy, well, you are going to be healthy. It's